Why not you? You've got the brains. You can make decisions. You can study the plan. You can change your life. Why not you? Life isn't forever. It finally comes to an end. One of the Beatles wrote, "All things must pass." The sunrise doesn't last all day. Spring doesn't last all summer. The sunset doesn't last all night. We all have periods of time, pieces of time. And when those pieces of time comes, what you've got to do is take advantage of each time that comes. At the longest, life is brief. At the longest, life is just a small period of time. So don't waste your springs. Don't waste the opportunity to talk to someone. Don't waste the opportunity to have a meeting. Don't waste the chance. Each spring that comes, take advantage of them, because there's just a few. Don't let them all pass. Take advantage.
On the other end of suffering is a life that many people don't know even exists. It's a beautiful world, like the 40% rule. We all live in this world where our brains are keeping us in this box. Outside that box, on the other edge of suffering, which is on the other edge of that 40%, is a world that's endless of opportunity. But we are afraid to go outside that box because in that box it's comfortable. That's where all of our nice stuff, that's where the nice 4-lane highway's at. I know where the restrooms are at. I know where the gas stations are at. Outside that box, man, God gives you a shovel and says, man, start digging. That's not fun. But when you dig your own path to all kind of stuff that's unknown. And that's what I started realizing, man, like on the other end of this is some beautiful stuff. So I got outside my box and realized, man, 300 pounds, now look at me, I'm 185 pounds. And on the other side of the box was all this stuff. And I didn't know it was over there until I climbed the wall and saw it.
So what wall are you climbing now?
Man, right now, I've climbed a lot of walls. There's no more walls anymore. The reason why is because I know how to climb. I was trying to figure out how to climb before. I got all the right gear, man. I got the ropes, I got the shoes, I got the chalk, I got the harnesses. I'm good, I'm not scared to climb anymore. I go to the rock, hammered in, I got my belay, and I'm good to go. So you gotta figure out how to climb first, and that's all. We all have a different way of climbing. That's why there's a lot of books out there on mental toughness. It's all crap. Why? Because it's a cookie cutter way. Life isn't cookie cutter. Like 3.14 is pi. It's how you figure out equations. We're all different equations. We all have a story. We all have to strengthen our mind to figure out our own equation. Once you figure out your own equation in life, you can then start picking away at how to be better. But you first have to figure out your equation in life. Once you figure that out, man, you can do anything.
There's a version of you that never sleeps in, never skips training, never wastes time. There's a version of you who never fails. It is waiting for you. Genuinely ask yourself a question, you at home. If you had done those things for the last 2 years, you never skipped the training, you never wasted time, you never scrolled TikTok, you never sat aimlessly on the internet typing in garbage, never played video games, you never wasted time. You never skipped training, you were training every single day. You never slept in, you were never lazy. There's this version of you. Imagine the person you would be. Genuinely imagine what you would look like. Imagine where you would live. Imagine the car you would drive. Imagine how much your woman would respect you. Imagine the love you would see in her eyes when she looks at you with adoration like a king. Imagine your existence. That person is waiting for you, and the only thing that's stopping you from being that person is your monumental laziness. You can have it. The universe is very giving. It will give you anything you work for. I've never seen somebody try for something with all of their might and not get it. The only people who do not have the things they want are the people who do not try for them. I've never seen a person wake up and say, my only dedication in life is to solve a Rubik's Cube and fail. You are not stupid. You are not incompetent. You are lazy and arrogant. It's extremely important you understand that that person is waiting for you, and you are declining that version of yourself. In the multiverse, in the many different versions of the universe that exist, there is a version of you that does those exact things, and he is a greater person than you can even fathom. You can transform yourself into that guy. You can be a top G. That's exactly what I did. I knew who I was going to have to end up being before I became that person. My brother and I are not from rich families. We are not from advantaged beginnings, but I knew I had to be a big, strong, fighting billionaire. That's what I knew I had to be. Discipline is the key to success. If you cannot force yourself to do something you don't want to do, how are you ever going to put yourself through the suffering required for greatness? If you cannot force yourself to train when you do not want to train, if you cannot force yourself to work when you don't want to work, if you can't force yourself to not log into Pornhub or force yourself to eat right, how can you possibly ever become a monumentally successful person if you cannot control yourself long enough to do what must be done as opposed to what you feel like doing? The only people who get to live their lives based on how they feel are women and children. Children can cry because they feel like crying, as can a woman. A woman can start an argument because she feels like arguing, as can a child. A man must do what he is supposed to do irregardless of how he feels. That is the key component to masculinity, is discipline. If you do not have the discipline to dedicate yourself to anything, you are going to fail and be crushed by the people who can. If you only go to the gym when you feel like going to the gym, you're never going to be as strong as the people who go to the gym when they don't feel like going to the gym. That is a reality of life.
That most of the time that I was, let's call it, wasting away my life and struggling to find the motivation and the passion to actually do the things that I wanted to do somewhere deep down. It wasn't necessarily the fact that the things that I had to do were so hard, or that they were so uncomfortable, or that I didn't know where to start or whatever. But it was probably due to the fact that I was always, as a default, distracting myself, doing things that were very fun, doing things that were very stimulating, that give you a lot of dopamine. And so I had probably raised my dopamine levels, my dopamine baseline, if you want to call it that, all the way up here. I was doing the things that give me the most stimulation, right? The things that give me the most dopamine. And so now the things that I had to do and the things that I wanted to do somewhere deep down were no longer attractive to me, because these things don't give you as much dopamine. They give you some dopamine, but they don't give you as much dopamine as the things that I was doing. The video games, the YouTube videos, the porn, all the things that I was doing all the time. And because I was up here all the time, the things that I really had to do, the things that I really wanted to do, no longer were things that I wanted to do, because I didn't want to go down here. My dopamine wanted to stay up here, because we are designed to always want to get the most dopamine that we can get, right? And if we're already up here, we don't want to go back down here. And as soon as I started to do nothing for just a couple of minutes, I moved down my dopamine levels again. And now, compared to the dopamine levels that I was having down here, the things that were up here suddenly started to become a little bit attractive. I actually started to think, hey, wait a second, I kind of feel like doing these things. Because I allowed myself to feel like doing these things because I was down here and not up here anymore.